Hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. Today we're coming to do a book review. We are doing a book that I was terrified to read for a long time, but I finally got it together and I read it, and that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This book is about Star Carter. Well, Star Carter, but also Khalil. In essence, it's about the murder of her friend by a police officer and how that impacts her life and her community and everything they're in. We follow her on that journey. And so that's really the essence of the book. Will Star speak up? Will she not speak up? The turbulence, the turmoil, the pain that she has to experience as a result. And also finding her voice and finding her way and who she wants to be in regards to standing up for her beliefs and for her friend. And so that's the synopsis. Within that, we go through peaks and valleys, all types of turns, because it is evident from the very beginning of this book that Star lives a dual life. She goes to a prestigious private school, but she lives in the hood. So she feels as if there's a dichotomy. There's two stars. Think of it as far as the mask that we are forced to wear as Black people. And so when she goes to her school, she tries to distance herself from the Star who is in her neighborhood. And when she's in her neighborhood, she tries not to be the Star that they would judge and say doesn't belong there. And so that becomes important and increasingly important as we unpack the murder of Khalil. I didn't want to read this book because I was very terrified that it was really going to be exploitative in some sense of Black trauma and Black pain, and that's not what this book was at all, and I'm grateful for that. I will say that at the onset. As an average weekend would go for kids, you're at a party with your friends or with your cousin and her friends. She lives there, but she's not really from there. People just know her through her dad, Big Mav, and they call her like, oh, the girl who works at the store. So she's at this party, she sees Khalil, her one like long time friend from the neighborhood, and they end up leaving together. When they leave, the car is stopped and pulled over by a police officer, and it increasingly gets escalated from there. Khalil checks on her like, hey, are you okay? And the officer drags him from the car, kills him. He says that he thought that the hairbrush that he was reaching for in the door was a gun. And Star is obviously traumatized by the whole event. She's there when he kills her friend. She's there while he holds a gun to her the entire time, as if they're a threat, as if they're the problem. When he stopped them, they were unarmed, and she is scared on so many levels. And so we go through this journey with her of what does it all mean? What should she do? Should she speak out? Right? Because her uncle is a detective, so he's also in the police force. And so that should make her feel safer, but it doesn't, because they're making it seem as if Khalil was the perpetrator, as if he was the bad person, as if he deserved to die. And then they harass her family, they harass her father in particular, because there are protests in the neighborhood, and the cops want to send a message that they're protecting their own. And on top of this, there's more danger because of King, the biggest drug dealer in the neighborhood. He is also threatening them because Khalil was selling drugs for him to pay off a debt that his mother owed to him. And so he's like, your daughter better watch what she says, because you know, you get to pointing too many fingers and it'll lead back to me. And so that's an additional threat. And all of this she has to deal with, right? That's just in her neighborhood. But then she goes to school, and she's one of a select few Black people. Her brother also goes there. There are two of select few Black people. And so she's dealing with this weird dynamic of having to deal with microaggressions and just overt racism at times, and just the challenges they're in of coming from a poor neighborhood and being in school with affluent students, and how she feels just out of place on so many different levels, and how she compartmentalizes herself in order to fit in there. And so she's dealing with all of this. So she's dealing with one of her best friends who's racist, and doesn't want to face it or acknowledge it. And it's hard because they have this friendship and they trauma bonded about death because they were both suffering through losing people back in the day. And so there are these deep connections, but there are also problems. And so she has to tackle that world. On top of that, she also has this boyfriend who is white, but she also liked Khalil at one time, and they were more than friends, but a line that was never crossed. So she's grappling with all of these feelings. It's just a lot for her to unpack. So that's the journey we're going on with Star. And I think that it was well done. I think that Angie Thomas did a great job of telling the story from a young person's perspective. It felt authentic. Everyone's voice came through clearly. The pacing of the story was really good. There were moments where there were some lows, so I was like, I don't know if I need as much information about this as I'm receiving, but in the whole, as a collective, it works really well and it just progresses the story forward. I like the historical tidbits we get about the Black Panther Party and Fred Hampton and other folks. And obviously it's called The Hate U Give. That comes from Tupac's tattoo, Thug Life. The hate you give little infants F's everybody. And so unpacking that, what does that mean? What does it mean from Tupac's perspective? What does it mean from Khalil's perspective? What is Star's interpretation? What does it mean for Maverick? What does it mean for other people in the neighborhood? How do we progress forward as a community, as a nation? And so I felt like all of that was really well done, really well thought out. And she does a good job of, there's obviously pain and trauma here, both from a real life situation, because this is something that we all know has happened a number of times, but to put it in a book in such a way where it feels authentic and it feels as if it's doing honor and is not exploiting black pain or black trauma. I think that she gets kudos for that. I haven't seen the movie. I'll probably come back and do a comparison at some point, but I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed the storyline. I enjoyed the pacing. I enjoyed the writing. As someone who is very character driven, I appreciated the ability to grow with our characters. I do kind of wish we had a little more of Khalil, but I do appreciate the fact that we get to know him through Star and that it happens early on in the story and it's not something that's dragged out, and we get to really focus on the impact of his killing and everything that comes after that instead of exploiting the event itself. So I really enjoyed this book. I think that it is well worth the read. I kind of wish that I hadn't waited so long to read it, but you all know that I believe that books find us when it's time to. So I believe that I read it exactly when I was supposed to. Now, on my scale of should you read it now, read it when you have time, or read it when you want, or read it if you want, I would absolutely say read it now. I think that it was worthwhile. I think it's a story that's always relevant. I think it touches on issues that are forever prevalent and that need to be unpacked and discussed and can't be discussed enough in order for us to find solutions to these problems and heal as a people and as a nation. So absolutely worth the read. So that's my review of The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. Definitely a read now. So the book that I am currently reading is titled The Street by Ann Petrie. This is a book that was recommended eons ago to me, and I'm finally getting around to reading it. So can't wait to finish it and discuss that with you all. The next book review that'll be coming to the channel will most likely be Butterfly 3. I still need to get y'all the rest of the videos for the Butterfly series, so that one should be coming up soon. There will also be a couple of other videos coming to the channel that are book related, book adjacent, but not book reviews, so those will be coming soon as well. But as for today, that is it for me. As always, I am MsMalcolmHughes, one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. And until the next one, please remember to give time, to be kind to each other, and to have the best day of your life on purpose. Peace, odabo, adios.